not too bad. So that's the gas tank that we took off the car, and it's in pretty good shape. It's not beat up too bad. You might ask yourself, why is there a big square cut out of the top of it? Well, I shook the tank around and I could hear that there was quite a bit of stuff inside it. And I decided that I could just open up the top and really get a good look at it and see how bad it was. And what I did was I just made it a hole with a cutoff wheel, that I could then weld back together. Now, welding a gas tank is not smart unless you know for a fact it doesn't have any gas in it. So this one's going to be completely empty. But as you can see, I cleaned it up on the inside, and I mean, it's shining like a new penny. So that's cool. I'm going to clean up the outside just a little bit more, and we're going to be able to use that. In fact, we're even going to be able to use those old gas tank straps because they've just got surface rust on them. They're really in great shape. I mean, that's going to save me another, I don't know, 30 bucks probably. The gas tank will save me 150 bucks. But I wanted to show you this. That bucket, the contents of that bucket, is what came out of that gas tank. That was all in the bottom of the gas tank. Now, it looks like maybe it was sawdust. It's not sandy. It's more almost like dirt now, but I can't believe somebody would have that much dirt in there. It's definitely not rust because it would have rusted the entire inside of the tank out. So it's not that. But that's why he was having so much trouble getting this this car to, it would start, but it would not continue to run, and it was just starving for fuel. Because this is the pickup right here at the bottom of the tank, and you can, I mean, it was buried under that stuff, so there's just no way. So I'm going to do a couple of things. Now, this little gas tank, when you shine a light into it, you'll see teeny tiny little pinholes in a few places. So I'm going to coat the inside of it and the outside of it with fiberglass resin after I get it cleaned up and seal it up really good. And I believe that's going to make a nice little gas tank again. So that's kind of the project we're going to work on today. All right, I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer. I made another video of that stuff, and it works really good. I'm going to spray that on the inside and the outside first to treat the existing rust, and that will make a chemical treatment to the oxidizing metal to stop the rust kind of in its tracks. So that's what we're going to do first. Okay guys, so I put the rust treatment on there yesterday. I let it dry really good, and now I've come in here again on the inside. I've taken my steel brush and I've really scrubbed the inside so it's good and clean. Same thing with the top. That's going to go there, back in place. What I'm going to do now is mix up some fiberglass resin, and I believe what I'm going to do is just go ahead and paint the entire inside with a fiberglass resin. I just want that to coat everything and make it nice and not rusty metal. You know, you can only get it so clean. But that's going to make an all new inside surface, so that'll be nice. And then I'll mix up some more fiberglass resin, and I'll clean up these edges just a little bit here. And I'll use fiberglass on the top to replace this, and fiberglass all across where the little pinholes were. And that should get it all nice and sealed. I'm going to use this just Bondo fiberglass resin. Picked that up at Home Depot. Pretty inexpensive. Comes with a hardener. I mix it pretty hot. follow the instructions if you want to do it the way they tell you to do it. I like it to cure faster than that. I always use these reusable little pans. Pick those up, they're great. When they get really disgusting, you throw them away. I'm gonna put it on with a little squishy brush. This is foam. And I'm just gonna mix that up, use this to cover the entire surface of the inside and the outside. And it will also fill in quite a bit of the little pinholes. And the little pinholes that it won't fill in, I will use the mesh and then fiberglass that in too. So that's how I'm gonna seal it all up. So it's just fiberglass, using it with a little paint roller. And that's how we're doing it. All right, well there it is all painted up. So what I did was I took some mesh, these sidewalls right here, not in the bottom, but in the top, were where the little pinholes, little tiny little pinholes, there was probably, I don't know, 20 or 30 of them all the way around. If you shine your light and you could see them. Now I feel like that resin is thick enough that when I painted it on the inside, it kind of oozed through those holes. And I feel like it probably would have blocked them. But what I decided to do once I painted on the outside was go back in and just lay a little bit of that fiberglass resin on the top. The cool thing about that is, again, we're trying to fix this car on a budget and make it look nice. So on the bottom side of the car, when you look up at the bottom of the tank, so this is the way we'll do it on a budget. These are probably the little tricks they do on TV when they're always flipping those cars. They don't really show you all this stuff. But there's no reason to throw that gas tank out. I mean, that gas tank didn't have a dent in it. It had some rust, it had some dirt. It needed to have a little structure put back in it, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, they sell fiberglass gas tanks. So anybody out there that wants to critique this, this idea, I mean, opinions vary, but if you sell a fiberglass gas tank, and this was the good enough of a gas tank to go on the car since 1953, I would think that beefing up the existing gas tank with a little bit of fiberglass inside and out would be all right. You know, obviously gasoline doesn't react with it. Obviously gasoline doesn't dissolve fiberglass. As long as that's the case, I don't see how the fiberglass could delaminate from the metal. It makes a very strong bond to metal when it bonds like that. The metal was rough enough that, you know, they had plenty of things to grip to. It wasn't like it was, you know, high polished steel, anything like that. So I can't see how in the world that could be a problem. So I'm sure there's some naysayers. I'm sure people will comment. So have at it. Go nuts. Tell me how wrong I am. Doesn't matter to me. I'd already done it. Pickup tube, I have relocated. It used to be welded to the floor here. And the very end of this was completely nasty from all of that buildup that was in the tank, and it was just corroded and gross. So I cut that off and I bent it down, and I've left a good gap here, the bottom that's cut at an angle. So you just kind of take my word for it. I can't really show it to you. And then I've come in here with some JB Weld, and I've welded a couple things. I had to patch a little bitty hole right there. Now, JB Weld, I saw Wayne Carini do this in a $250,000, maybe $300,000 Stutz car on his show one time, where he had a leak in his gas tank and he fixed it with JB Weld. So I feel like if Wayne Carini can do that in a $300,000 Stutz, I think it was a 27 Stutz, JD can do that in a 1953 Bel Air worth $20,000, maybe a little more. Who knows what I'll get for it. Anyway, so the JB Weld will hold that in place. It's really firm anyway. Probably didn't need it. But in case anything was to ever bang in the bottom of the tank or whatever, I think that would be a good thing to have. So anyway, nice and cleaned up. Inside the tank shining like new money. Outside the tank's in pretty good shape. The bottom of it looks better than the top. This is the top. I'm now going to go around and spot weld in this panel with some little bitty spots all the way around to get it good and secured. And then I will finish off that with more fiberglass patching. All right. Okay, and there I have used some tiny little spot welds, and I have spot welded that panel back into place. And now I'll come in and lay fiberglass in on top of that. And the fiberglass will actually hold these two panels together, but this will just give it structure. So that's all it really is for. So I'm gonna come in now, resin this up, and lay fiberglass back in, probably overlap, 2 or 3 inches on both sides, give it good strength, and when that bonds together, that'll be good as old. And okay, there it is. So that's the top piece put back in, all fiberglass back through. I have filled it, well, I didn't fill it, but I put, I don't know, a quart of water in it and held it up in all the different directions that I could hold it to test it, and there are no leaks save one. Right there, there was a little tiny pinhole, and I have used my Wayne Carini JB Bond technique, or JB Weld technique to seal that one up. So as soon as that dries, we will have a pretty solid tank. I think it's pretty good, man. Probably could have paid for a new one for the amount of labor I've got in this one, but the price was right, so we went with this one, and I think it's a good tank now. So all right, and once it goes back on the car, of course, all you're going to see is the bottom side of it. So this is the bottom. I took a can of undercoating that I bought at O'Reilly's. It's the high build stuff that they carry, and sprayed that on there, and man, it made a great looking tank. So that's going to be used on this car. It's about to go back up on the shelf. We're not anywhere close to that, but it was a really good project to do on a very cold couple of days here in the early part of spring, and we've saved a couple $100. Thought I'd show you this too. I took those bands that mount the tank to the car, and I just ran them under a wire wheel, and they cleaned up great, and straightened them up with a little hammer, and we don't need new bands. They're in great shape. I'm just going to put a little coat of Rust-Oleum on those, and those will be great too.